No, 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 not just yet. Not no. First of all, yo, Bo, welcome to another episode of In the Life with MightyFan. This is in the life, right? So listen, we all know me as the collector, right? The jerseys, the hats, combo wombo, all that good, great stuff, right? But I'm also as we all know, I'm also a Philadelphia sports fan, and sometimes it's very trying to to stay the course with some of these teams because I don't think people appreciate enough what we have to go through with this NBA team. I don't think there's enough understanding with some people. And maybe they think they do. You know, I'm talking about longtime fans of other franchises, right? Fans who now a lot of those fans have seen championships, plural, or a championship, and at least they had their time. Now, not all of them, right? I mean, look, Knicks fans have complained for years, right? The Dolan situations. You know, I mean, you want to go back to the when Ewing missed the finger roll in the playoffs, or Reggie Miller and the choking and the threes that he hit, and at the very end of the game, and just mortified Spike Lee for the rest of his days, or losing to the Bulls, or whoever whoever it was, right? Or the John Starks putting up enough bricks to build a house in the finals against Houston in '94. What was that, Game 7 or what have you, or Game 6, whatever it was. No, no. I mean, that I have seen moments like that many a time with the Sixers. It happens here. What this is in the post process playoffs. Now what I have called this is the uh, the parade of failure. That's exactly what this has been in the past 7 years, 8 years, whatever it's been. Since the first time when they made the playoffs and they lost in the second round to the Celtics, and some of those games in that series could have gone either way, but they were a young team. They had to learn how to win, right? And we all kind of almost laughed it off at that time, like, oh, we have a good thing going. They'll understand what these moments in the playoffs. This is what makes them tough. This is how they learn how to win. And we had Brett Brown as a coach back then, and a young Embiid, and we didn't know it at the time, but Simmons, who did realize that scoring was something you have to do in the NBA. But okay, then you get Fultz, and that another guy who scoring was an issue, and that's something you do have to do in the NBA. But that's part of the game. But whatever, you know, and everything that's happened since, whether it's the continuous losing to Boston in series, and just more and more frustrating ways, the most of which was last season. Then you had the Hawks series, you had the Raptor series, where Kawhi makes a quadruple bounce shot that beats you in Game 7 in Toronto. Now, you have all these different things, all these different moments, these frustrating moments where you would think that eventually they would figure it out, they would put it together, things will get better, we'll finally get over that hump, as you see these other teams do with superstars on their teams. They eventually figure it out, and I know it takes time. I know it does. It takes time for all the superstars to win. It took time for Jordan to win. They had to figure out how to beat the Pistons, the Bad Boys Pistons teams. And then when they finally did, they won. They became a dynasty, right? It took LeBron time to win. It took Kobe and Shaq time to win. It took Giannis time to win. It takes a lot of these players time to win, and some might never win, like Barkley never won, right? Stockton and Malone never won. Okay, so there are players that, yeah, you might not get it. But more than likely, if you're a team that has superstar talent, eventually that talent will rise up and grasp what needs to be grasped and win. And yet, here we sit. Another year. And I didn't expect this team to win this year. I really didn't. I wasn't, going into the playoffs. Look, they were lucky to win the play-in game against Miami. But they made some things happen in that game that wasn't very Sixer-like. To beat a team that, look, was a bit of a boogeyman to them over the years in Miami. A team that they've lost to in the playoffs with Jimmy Butler. I'll get back to him in a minute. But they figured a way to win that game. And one of their role players in Nicholas Batum showed up, had a big game. They won the game. They advanced to be the 7 seed to take on the Knicks, a scrappy team with a bunch of Villanova guys on it. Again, we're going to get to that. Don't worry, it's coming. All right, a team that's good at rebounding. They're not the greatest offensive team in the world, but they rebound well. That's the team we're playing. So instead of finding ways to win games, yet again, here we are, another year. It's Groundhog's Day. That movie should have been made for the Sixers. It really should have. Even in that Netflix movie, that Adam Sandler was the Sixers scout, and he scouted that Euro guy. At the end, he wound up with the Celtics. I mean, I'm sorry if I gave it away, but Sandler became the coach of the Sixers, and the guy who he recruited somehow went to Boston. No, that's not how this story should. But yes, it is, because that's a Sixers move right there. There's this unicorn-like player, and we should have him. No. Let the rival get him. That's the moral of the story. But he got to be the Sixers coach, so it worked out for him. Didn't work out for us, because I'm sure that Sixer team, just like the real Sixer team, would just continually be haunted by the Celtics in the playoffs. And even when we're not playing the Celtics, it's the same story. It doesn't stop. And we can blame Embiid. I get it, right? He's the big man. He's the center of attention. I understand. But Embiid has actually had 2 pretty good games. And he's hurt. He's always hurt. There's taxes and there's Embiid getting here. When the calendar flips over to April, either a pre-existing injury or he's going to get hurt in the first round. The man broke his orbital bone twice. How does that even happen once? And he did it twice. He has knees. He has knee issues. He's a big guy. It happens. But every year it happens. But we get used to it. We're like, it's like a clock. You put it on the calendar. We as Sixer fans, you can put it on your Sixer calendars. When we flip the calendar over to April and the playoffs are going to start, you put a picture of Embiid's knee and say this is probably going to be bad. But you know what that means? That means other players got to show up. And the one big common denominator of all of this, not just that the team has the basketball IQ of a pea. For a lot of times, particularly late in game situations, they're not very smart. This is not a very smart team. They haven't been for many years. Okay, we know. But the biggest issue that I see isn't just the Embiid injuries. Isn't just that Ben Simmons didn't score the basketball against the Atlanta Hawks and Trae Young and his bad hair. It wasn't because of Tobias Harris, as Anthony Gargano calls him, the friendly ghost, just disappearing. It's really not, or his paycheck. It's not all of that. It's not even the stupid moves that they made in getting, we're going to get back to it. Don't worry. Jimmy Butler's coming back. Jimmy Butler, Mikal Bridges. All right. It's not even that. What is the one common denominator of all of these teams who have success in the NBA year after year after year after year? And yes, they have superstar talent, but what do they also have? They have role players that show up in playoff series every year. The Sixers, every year, the role players do not show up, and it doesn't matter who's on the team. They have had, it's like a revolving door. They've had so many players come and go that aren't Joel Embiid and Maxey and Harris. But there's been so many other players who have just come and gone, come and gone, come and gone. But it's the same. No one shows up in these series. Embiid can only do so much. It's like a Herculean effort for him just to win the games they win in the playoffs, because he has to do it all. And Maxey's starting to put on some of that offensive prowess on him too. But it's not coming from anyone else. There's no one coming off the bench ever on this team that does anything. When the bench comes into the game, the other team makes their move. Every year. It doesn't matter if it's Boston, Miami, Toronto, Atlanta, the Knicks. Whoever is being... When the Sixers bench comes out there and Embiid takes a breather, and Maxey, that's when the other team goes on a run. It's like clockwork. There's no one ever on the Sixers bench that can come in and give them some good minutes. And all those teams that when you see it, even to the point that when the Warriors won, who was one of the finals MVP? Andre Iguodala, a former Sixer. Won the finals MVP on a team that had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. I believe this was before even they got KD. He was a sixth man, but he gave them solid minutes. He gave them some baskets. He gave them rebounds. He played defense. That's what you need. You need players like that come off your bench and produce. And all these years, whether it's with Brett Brown or Doc Rivers or Nick Nurse, all these years, whatever coach has been, whatever other superstar players have been on the court, the other players, the role players, have not shown up. And it can't be a system thing, because it's been 3 different systems now. 3 different coaches. But for whatever reason, there is never role play on this team, ever, in the playoffs. When you need guys to step up, guys that are going to give you solid minutes and produce, we never have that. The Knicks have that. The Heat had that. The Celtics had that. The Hawks had that. The Raptors had that. The Sixers, no. Never. So it all has to go on the shoulders of Joel Embiid or whoever the other Maxey. Name a superstar type player that has been on this team for those years. Jimmy Butler. I'll even throw Ben Simmons out there, as much as I can't stand the guy. I'll even throw his name in there. But there was never anyone else. This is the one damn franchise that I can say that year after year after year after year. It doesn't matter what they do in the regular season. We've seen this team have great regular seasons. This year it wasn't so great because Embiid was hurt for a good portion of it. And that's why they're the 7 seed. Otherwise they would have been up there as a 2 or 3 seed. But it didn't matter. We were a 1 seed. We were a 2 seed. It doesn't matter. Because in the playoffs, when you need other players to step up, no one ever steps up on this team other than the powers that be. And you can't win alone with those guys. No one does. I can go back to the 90s Bulls, and I can tell you, yeah, they had Jordan and Pippen. They had some other guys that showed up in the playoffs for them. They had good role players, and they had a system that worked. The Warriors, the same thing. Sometimes the LeBron teams that don't win is because those role players with him don't show up. And it all has to fall on his shoulders. And even LeBron can't do it alone. Those Laker teams with Shaq and Kobe, they had other guys that showed up. Whether it was the Fishers or the whoever, take your pick of players that were on that team. Robert, the Big Shot Bob, making big plays. Championship level plays. But that's what you need. The Sixers don't have that. They never do for whatever reason. This is a town that loves basketball. It's inbred. It's in the DNA of this town. If there is one fan base that deserves a winning team in the NBA, it's Philly. It's such a big basketball town. There's so much basketball rooted into this town. But the Sixers are perennially a disappointment. And it goes back to the Wilt years. That team should have won more. The Celtics kept getting in the way. Right? Havlicek steals the ball. That was against the Sixers. And then in the 70s and 80s, the team with Doc should have won more. They won 1. Should have won more. They were up 2-0 in the 77 finals. Lost to the Blazers. Couldn't win at home. The Iverson years. Should have had at least one. But they could never get other players around him. They could never really completely build that team. Even the Barkley years could never completely build that team. And now here we are again. The Embiid years could never quite build that team. And they had chances to. And this is what hurts the most for me. Because I shouted this on the mountaintop years ago. It was the most simple thing in the world. And I know it's easy to look back and oh, well, yeah, but you're saying that because now I knew it then. I got in shouting matches with people over this. They had a chance years ago, and I know they lost to Toronto and the Kawhi Leonard shot. I get that. All they had to do. Brett Brown was a lame duck coach. He was coming into the last year of his contract. They should have let him go. They should have let him go. They picked him over Jimmy Butler. And I know people say, yeah, it's hindsight now. I said it at the time. I saw it in Ben Simmons. He wasn't going to be the guy. I saw his limitations. And yeah, I know it's easy to say now. I saw it then. The man's 6'10". He wouldn't drive to the hoop. I'm not saying be a shooter. I'm not telling him to be Steph Curry. I need him to be aggressive. The man's 6'10" and built like he was, he wouldn't get to the rack. Because he didn't want to get fouled, because he wasn't a good free throw shooter, and it embarrassed him. And it was in his head. Jimmy Butler saw it right away. It took Jimmy less than a season to figure out Ben Simmons right away. He knew, oh no, we're not winning with this guy. That's part of the reason why Jimmy wanted out of here. All the Sixers had to do. It was the simplest thing in the world. At that time, Ben was at the height of his trade value. You could have gotten a package for him. You could have gotten, like a Halliburton and a package of players from Sacramento for him right then and there. You could have gotten something that could have changed his franchise around. You talk about role players. We all like Halliburton on this team right now. Absolutely. And it would have kept Jimmy Butler here. You could have gotten rid of Brett Brown because he was on the last year anyhow. He was a lame duck coach. Move on from him for someone else. I can't give you a name. Not saying there was a Nick Nurse that you could bring in right there, but there had to have been someone. And I'm not saying just do it to appease one player, but that player's a dog. That player's been to 2 finals. I know he hasn't won. Since he left Philly and was on Miami, he's been in 2 finals. Sixers haven't been out of the second round. All they had to do was keep him here. And they chose Simmons and Brett Brown over him. And then they gave Tobias Harris that max contract. Look, I'm not hating on Tobias. Any one of us would take the money. Any one of us. And if you say no, you're lying. It's not his fault. They put the check in front of him. He signed it. It's their fault for giving him a max contract. He's not a max contract player. He never was. He never will be. All they had to do was keep Jimmy here. That's all they had to do. Him and Embiid, and you build around that. And maybe they still get lucky enough to draft Maxey, and he's part of the equation. You have Halliburton and whatever other pieces from the Ben Simmons trade at that time. Now you had something to really build around. Instead, you tore that team down. That was actually one of the more successful Sixers team that we've had in this era. I mean, it took a Kawhi Leonard circus shot to beat them. And then you just let that whole thing go because you were afraid of Jimmy Butler. And they were saying, oh, he didn't want to be here. Yeah, he didn't want to be here because of Brett Brown and Ben Simmons. So you move on from those two and you keep him here. You give him the money. He earned it. He deserves it. Him and Embiid were good friends. You keep that together. You don't let it get away. And then the Mikal Bridges thing on draft night. What in the hell? You talk about Philadelphia royalty. That guy won 2 national championships with Villanova. Was a big part of that team. You knew he was a good player. His mother worked for the team. And you trade him for Zaire Smith? And an unprotected first-round pick from Miami? No. I sat there going, what in the hell are they doing? And here's another guy that's been to a finals since he was traded by the Sixers. He went to a finals, lost to a very good Bucks team, but he was there. Drew Holiday helped the Bucks win. You talk about all these players that left the Sixers or the Sixers got rid of, and they all have had some sort of success along the way. I mean, this goes back to Wilt. Right now, we know Wilt was one of the all-timers, right? Because he goes finals with the Lakers, he wins with the Lakers, right, and all that. You talk about Barkley, they moved on from him. He goes on he didn't win. That guy named Jordan got in the way, but he goes to a finals in 93. He was a league MVP. Iguodala gone. He goes on to be a finals MVP and a big part of the Warriors' success. Drew Holiday, who was a young player when they moved on to now that Sixer team wasn't ready to win. It was the start of the process years, and okay, it is what it is. But he goes on to be an integral part of a championship in Milwaukee, and now he's in Boston. Could win another title, maybe multiple titles there. Mikal Bridges, they move him on draft night. He becomes an integral part of the Suns. They lose in the finals to Drew Holiday and the Bucks. Look at all these players that have left here and went on to have success and are a big part of those teams that they win with or have success with. And a good amount of them could have been here. That's the shame of it. Jimmy Butler, again, goes to Miami, goes to 2 finals. Didn't win, but got there. Had a lot more success. Their fans were treated to much more success than we have over the past how many years since that trade. And people are saying trade Embiid. Do you understand that the Sixers trading away talent, has it ever worked for the Sixers? I mean, has it really ever worked? Have they ever gotten value back for the players that they trade? It goes back to Wilt, Moses Malone, Charles Barkley, Iverson, Iguodala, Jimmy Butler, Mikal Bridges. Exactly when has a trade worked out for the Sixers? They're a franchise they're just inept in trading. I mean, you could even make an argument for the Ben Simmons trade. They got, the beard, but then he becomes a malcontent. And what did they trade him for? They traded him for some role players. Some of who have not even gotten on the court to this point in the playoffs. And they talk about this offseason coming up. Oh, they're going to have all this money. They're going to do this. It's not like players are lining up. See, this is the whole reason why they did the process, because they couldn't draw those free agents here back then. So they knew they had to grow in the draft and build through the draft. So the best chances to get a good player is to get a high draft pick. Of course, that was their thought process. And they got Embiid out of it. So, I mean, it is what it is. But that was their process. That's why they did the process. And because of that, the NBA's hated them ever since, even though other teams have done it. The Thunder have done it, but they're all getting patted on the back. Oh, good job, Oklahoma City. It's the same shit that the Sixers did, just a different era. So how many free agents are lining up to play for the Sixers? Yeah, I know money talks. But Joel Embiid isn't one of those players that fraternizes with other players in the offseasons. He's a family man. He's with his family. Now, maybe that's part detriment to the team because he's not luring players here like you see these other players. I think it's so funny the Sixers get the collusion thing with what happened, I guess, with Lowry or whatever the situation was. Teams do it all the damn time in the offseason. You don't think these players talk to each other? It's a players' league. Oh, come here, play with me, play with me. LeBron doesn't do this. Other players don't do this. It happens all the time. But Joel isn't one of those guys. And Maxi's not one of those guys. So they're not colluding with other players to come join us. Now, maybe they should. Joel's going to be in the Olympics more than likely this year on Team USA. Maybe he can have a chit-chat with some of those players. Hey, when we get into the regular season, maybe you want to join me in Philly. Maybe he needs to do that. I don't know. But that's the frustrating thing about this, is that even when the season ends, am I going to have high hopes for this team to make the right moves? I don't know. Have they made a lot of right moves? Have they done a lot? I'm mainly left with more questions in off seasons than answers. And I'm not talking about Iverson. This is a franchise that can never seem to find their way. And it doesn't matter the coach and the system and the schemes and the players. They can never get out of their own way. It's like a stumbling, bumbling mess. And I mean, how many times does this fan base, a really good, solid fan base, have to get punched in the gut in the playoffs? How much can we take? And we've had to take a lot over the years. A lot. Quadruple bounce shots. Up in series. A chance to win at home and can't do it. Big games at home in the playoffs, and this team just never shows up for them. Or lets the game get away in the fourth quarter. And the other common thing, it's the fundamentals. Last night, everyone's going to point to what happened in the last minute, and maybe rightfully so. The officiating was horrible. And obviously, I'm not going to say it, but you can just tell that the officials were a little, with where they were, where that game was played last night. I mean, you have a young star in the league and an all-star this season, Tyrese Maxey, having his jersey pulled by another all-star. I get it. And Villanova's Brunson. I understand all that. But that jersey was pulled by Brunson more so than the Eagles held at the end of Super Bowl 57. The only difference was Joel Embiid wasn't pointing at it the way Patrick Mahomes is pointing. Oh, look, there's a hold. Maybe Joel should have done that. Oh, look at what Brunson's doing. He should have learned from Patrick. When you point, the officials tend to look on that inbound play. And then Maxey gets shoved to the ground. Now, look, I grew up with the 90s NBA. And that was a love tap in the 90s, okay? You didn't have then what you have now where players get blown on and it's a foul. And I'm not going to sit here and cry foul. But come on. He's an all-star. He gets shoved to the ground and there's no call. And Nick Nurse is calling timeouts. The ref's looking at him and not granting him a timeout. I've never seen that before. That's a new one to me. But as a Sixer fan, this is things that you have to get used to. Everything going wrong. Anything and everything can go wrong, particularly at the end of a close game. And it's going to go wrong for us more times than not. But what led to that? Sixers missing free throws. Sixers not rebounding. These are the fundamentals of the game. These are little things that turn into big things. Look, the Sixers should have won that game last night. But it didn't have to come down to a DiVincenzo shot to win the game for the Knicks. The Sixers did it to themselves. You got to make your free throws. These are veterans missing free throws. Kyle Lowry missing free throws. Joel missing free throws. And not getting rebounds. Not boxing out. Again, fundamentals. Everyone's, the Knicks are a scrappy team. The Knicks are, yeah, you know what? But it's easy to do that with a team like the Sixers, whose basketball IQ is that of a gnat at times. Even with Lowry on this team. It's like once you put the uniform on, it's like you forget things. It's like that Sixers just does something. These are veterans making mistakes. Lowry's won a championship. He beat us. As part of that Raptor team, the quadruple doink shot by Leonard. And he's not calling timeout on the court. Look, you're a veteran. If you're having problems getting that ball in, timeout. The ref's going to see you do it. Obviously, he wasn't paying any attention to Nurse doing it. But it didn't have to come down to that at all. If this team just could have made some free throws, boxed out, got some rebounds, we would have won this game. We may have even won game one, all right? But all right, whatever it is, it is. At least they would have had a split coming back to Philly. Now they're down 0-2. And another just excruciating loss with this in this era of Sixers basketball. That just follows the trend of all the other years and all the other painful moments that we've had to go through. Series losses where we had leads, losses at home, quadruple doink shots rather. And even last night, Brunson makes one. How many of these damn threes that teams shoot on us are going to go in some weird fashion? It's just, when they hit the rim, they're supposed to bounce off. Instead, they go in. I don't know. I've never seen this before with anyone else. But it happens to us. These are Villanova guys doing this. Years ago when I watched them win 2 national championships, you were to tell me, years later now you're going to watch them beat your Sixers. It's like, what do we got to do? These are our guys beating us. I heard before the series, one of the guys on the Fanatic, I think it was Kevin Cooney, and he called the Knicks Charlie Brown. He said the Knicks are like Charlie Brown. The ball always gets, the football always gets taken away from them with Lucy holding it. Always holds the ball, and Charlie Brown goes sprawling back. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm going, wait a minute, don't you understand? If there's any Charlie Brown in basketball, it's the Sixers. It's not the Knicks. Yeah, the Knicks had their rough years with Dolan. I get that. But it ain't the Knicks. It's the Sixers. Look at everything we've had to go through. Not just this era, but all eras of Sixers basketball. Again, I go back to the Wilt years. And you fast forward it through the disappointments of those 70s Sixers teams. In the 80s, you had Magic Johnson jump center at the Spectrum against the Sixers and win the championship with Kareem out with an injury. It didn't matter. A rookie, Magic Johnson, did that to the Sixers. It's always the Sixers. Something's going to happen in a playoff series, in a finals. It's going to be against the Sixers. This team, I'm not going to say they're cursed. They've had success. But there's always something that happens. And this fan base routinely gets punched in the gut every year. Every generation. Now, I don't remember the Dr. J years. I vaguely even remember the Charles Barkley years. He was the first Sixer I really remember. And then he got traded to the Suns. So I'm really more of the, towards the end of the Barkley years, and then those terrible years after with the Sean Bradleys and the Sharon Wrights and he had Clarence Weatherspoon in the dunk contest once, I guess. Dana Barrows made some threes, but it was not a fun team to watch. Okay? And then you had the Iverson years, and we finally had a guy. That was our guy. Finally had a superstar player that I followed throughout his whole career. Loved AI. But I was disappointed because they never could put a team around him. Never. The one year they got to the finals, everything kind of went well. All the pieces kind of fit. And they had a scrappy bunch, right? Even they were playing hurt. It's a Sixers team. There's always going to be injuries. That just goes with the territory. But they got to the finals. Won 2 epic Game 7s, right, at home. Went to the finals. Played an all-time dynasty team. Won the first game in overtime and then lost the next 4. But they never could put a team around Iverson after that. It was the most crazy thing. They could never get that other star. It wasn't that people couldn't play with Iverson. It's just the franchise couldn't do it. The owner, the powers that be just wouldn't do it. They kept getting old guys. Chris Webber at the end of his run, right? Mutombo at the end of his run helped us get to the finals that year, but he was at the end. It's like, no. We get these guys earlier, and then it wasn't that Iverson couldn't play with anyone. It was they wouldn't get young guys to go with him. And the young guys that they got with him just weren't good enough. Eventually, he got moved. And then that other pre-process team that, made that, because the Bulls got hurt. So they made a little noise in the playoffs. And then they get Andrew Bynum in that offseason. Oh, speaking of another big guy that just couldn't stay healthy, he never played. He never played as a Sixer. He danced, though. He bowled, but he never got on the court. I mean, talk about Just terrible moves. But they thought that was the piece that was going to put them over the top, at least compete in the Eastern Conference, and they were wrong. And then that led to the process years. And they were terrible. I mean, you talk about 10-win seasons, less than 10 wins. It was bad. Bad. But we all saw why they were doing it. Now, people argued with it, but this team wasn't going to get star talent. They weren't going to get them as free agents. So this was how you had to do it. And that was the idea. And along came, the Nerlens Noels, the Emeka Okafor, right? Or not Emeka. He was the other Okafor, right? The Jahlil Okafor. Yeah, Okafor. I got the Okafors confused. But Jahlil Okafor, who was good. Like, if you need a player in the 80s, he would have been fine. But no, not in that time. And you get Simmons, and then you get Embiid, and players that in their rookie years didn't play because they were hurt. Again, the Sixers with injuries. This is a common theme. And then you get Markelle Fultz. And we should have, the Celtics knew. The Sixers didn't know. So they get the guy who, all of a sudden, as soon as he gets drafted, he forgot how to shoot. It was, he got the yips. And, of course, Tatum, and we all see what's happened in Boston with him. Now, they haven't gotten to a finals. Or they did get the one, rather, I'm sorry, losing to the Warriors. But at least they've had success. They've had years where they've gotten where we want to go. It came at our expense some of those years, including last year. We were up 3-2. We won a huge... Finally! This team wins a big game on the road in Boston. And they come back home and they have a lead in the fourth quarter, and then they decide that they want to be the Warriors, and they start shooting threes. Clang, clang, clang. That's all I remember. Clang, clang, clang. It got to the point when they would square up to shoot when I would say clang. And then Tatum, who couldn't find the broadside of a barn, all of a sudden got hot in the fourth quarter, of course. And they win that game, and then they crush us in Game 7. So we go through all of that, and then we get to last night. And of course, what happened last night happened, and it happened to the Sixers. Again, Knicks fans can complain all you want about the previous years. It means nothing to me. I've been through more pain and suffering as a fan of a franchise in the Sixers than most people would ever dream of. It comes with the territory. Sixers equals pain. That's what it is. But I'm a fan, so I'm still going to root. I'm still going to have hope. I still feel they have a chance to win the series, for God's sakes. Will they win the series? Probably not. And it will go down on another notch in the belt. Another series that, it could have gone, could have, should have, would have, didn't. This time it was the first round. It wasn't the second round. It wasn't that round we can never get out of. It was the first round, which you need to get past to get to the second round. But maybe not this year. But as I said earlier, this team I don't see as a championship team. Even if they win this series, if by some miracle they pull this out, this isn't a team that's going to contend for a championship this year. I understand that. But what I'm tired of, and what I can't continually understand is why this one team continues to find ways to lose. Just inventive ways. So, we have this game. It's there. Now we don't. Now we don't know how to make free throw. A rebound. What's that? What's a rebound? A rebound? It's like the Sixers are the only team in the history of the NBA that forget how to do the most simple things that you have to do in basketball. Shoot? What do you mean shoot? How do you shoot? What's a shoot? I don't know what to shoot. Shoot? Ball? What do I do with this? Right? Rebound. Oh, what's that? Well, here comes this big oafy white guy. He's going to rebound. Okay, well, that's what it is. free throws. End of game situations. It's like I want to close my eyes. I don't even want to watch. I can't. I just, it's just, no, it's a close game in the fourth quarter. Oh, God. Those are the worst. When the Sixers are in close fourth quarter games, it's, oh, why? Why? I know what's coming. Here it comes. Yeah, there it is. And there's always a moment. There's always one moment that it just never goes our way. Never, ever, ever. When people are like, oh, just be a fan of another team. Look, I live here. I'm proud of where I live. I want the Sixers to win. It won't be this year. It probably won't be next year. I don't even know when. It might never happen. I mean, I may have missed my opportunity because I wasn't old enough in 1983. And even that team should have won more. You're happy for it, yeah, but the collection of guys they had on that team, you can only bring home one. All right? I mean, we could have been one of the teams of the 80s, too. I mean, no, Boston, L.A., all right. Sixers, they were there. They were beaten by the Lakers and Celtics quite a few times. And then when they finally won one, it was like, but the Lakers were just, they were just waiting for the next year. It's almost like that didn't happen. It's like, oh my. Every time you think you did, all right, there's no other way they can lose a game. No, there's another way. And there's probably still other ways that they can. And again, I go back to it. I know, and I'm sorry, like sounding like a broken record. I go back to that Jimmy Butler decision. This would be the greatest 30 for 30 ever. You talk about all these like docuseries that are done, like the Celtics Lakers rivalry, which was a great documentary. The '86 Mets, right? The Patriots dynasty, all this and that. The greatest documentary ever would be about the process with the Sixers. I'm telling you, right? With Twittergate. With all that crap, people think they have a problem with their upper management people. Look what we had to go through with the stupid Twitter gate that we had to go through during those years, right? All that crap, the draft picks that didn't work out, the players that didn't work out, the trades that didn't work out, the coaches that didn't work out, the superstar unicorn player who gets hurt every year like taxes. You can count on it. There's taxes. And there's Embiid getting hurt. He's a great player. I'm not denying it. He's an MVP and deservedly so. But he get every year. It's just, and you know what would happen. I know what would happen. This is again why I don't want to trade him. I know what would happen. They'll trade him to someplace and he'll stay healthy the rest of his career. And he'll win championships on that team. This is why, no, don't be careful what you wish for. Because I know this is going to happen, right? Or they'll trade him someplace, and one of our rival teams will somehow be able to lure their clawed fingertips to get him, right? The Celtics, right? The Knicks. They'll get him on their team, and he'll stay healthy and help them win championships. That's the finishing blow. For us who have had to suffer through these years, that would be the ultimate just slap in the face. This is why I don't want him to get traded. And I'm not one of those that's, beating the chest. Trade Embiid. No. Don't. Find a way to make it work with him. Because as much as this sucks, and it does suck to lose every year in the playoffs, watching him win on another team, to be a pivotal player on another franchise, whether it's a rival or not. I mean, he can go to a team like I don't know, like the Nuggets and help them win, or the Kings or something and help them. But it's still like it should have been us. It should have been us. We had to go through those painful playoff losses. It should have been us. Plus the fact that this franchise just can't make good trades. They don't know how to do it. Again, I'm not expecting a championship this year. I never did. Going into the season, I didn't. But again, a loss like that last night, this was par for course. This is yet another one, another notch in the belt, another Kawhi Leonard quadruple bounce shot, another Simmons not dunking over Trae Young, another Celtics coming back from 3-2, and that big fat guy with the chain talking about we'll be back. Yeah, and they were, and they crushed us. That losing on special days like Mother's Day and Father's Day and all these days. If it's a special day and the Sixers are playing, it's probably going to be a loss. Going through players that don't score, through players that can't rebound, players who are given max contracts that should never be given half that money, getting rid of players who could have been a difference here, like Butler and Bridges, being lucky enough to get a maxi, but then what are we building around? What else are we doing? What else are we doing? And what's going to happen this offseason? All this money. I mean, it's not like they spend it wisely. I mean, see Tobias Harris. It's not like they spend it wisely on players. And even if they get a player like a Paul George who could be a free agent, he gets hurt too. So now you're pairing him with Embiid. It's like, are we going to have the all-hospital all-stars on this team? Is that what we're trying to do? I mean, I know there's a lot of good hospitals in Philly, but I mean, really, this is what we're doing? We're getting guys to go with Embiid that can't stay on the court? Kawhi Leonard, if they go after him, I know he made the shot, but I mean, he'll miss the shot here. He'll shoot that three as a Sixer, and it will bounce and bounce out. That won't go in for us. It will bounce, boom, out. And another player will rebound because on the other team because the Sixers don't know how to do it. And Kawhi's another guy. He doesn't stay healthy. I mean, have they won with the Clippers since he and George have been there? I mean, I know this year they're looking okay, but what have they done? You want that? Is it an upgrade over Tobias Harris? I think that fan over there might be an upgrade over Tobias Harris. At least that fan works. But I don't know. Are we going to how many games lost due to injury are we going to have next season? If let's say the Sixers have Embiid, Harris, and not Harris, Leonard and George. I mean, over under for wins. What about over under for games missed due to not playing? I don't know. Is there some magic potion out there this offseason that's mystically going to make all the boogeymen go away on this team? I don't know. I can't tell you. Is it somewhat exciting that they could have some new players next season? Yeah, but the end result's the end result. They got to find another way to punch us in the gut in the playoffs next season, even if they're a higher seed next season. I mean, how many more times are we going to be on this hamster wheel? That just never stops. And I don't see this with other teams. That's the thing. Other teams seem to figure it out. Again, winning a championship is a hard thing. I'm not saying it's easy. Some teams may make it look like it is. It isn't. You need a lot to go right to win a title. You need a lot of luck, a lot of skill. It needs to work hand in hand. You need that. Some of the great players ever, how long did it take them to win? Remember, Jordan was drafted in 84. He didn't win until 91. LeBron, how many years did it take him? We're talking about some of the all-time greats. Kobe, Shaq. Even when they were together, how many years did it take, right? It takes time. But you got to have that right mix of players around those superstar players. And like I said at the beginning of the video, the Sixers have never seemed to be able to get that right potion since the 83 team. They couldn't do it with Barkley. They couldn't do it with Iverson. They can't seem to do it with Embiid. And it sucks. And the end result for at least Barkley and Iverson, they never won. They never won as a Sixer. They never won anywhere, but they never won as a Sixer. And Iverson got there, and thank goodness, at least I could say I saw them in one finals. But it came at an expense of an all-time dynasty team, which Philly teams always seem to play in the finals, which is part of the reason why we don't win a lot. I'm going to say it. You need luck. I mean, even that Raptors team that won, they played a Warriors team that was banged up. Not taking away their championship. I'm not trying to say that. But that's what I mean. You need luck sometimes. And I don't wish injury on anybody. And I know the Knicks are dealing without Julius Randle in this series. And I get that, but we're playing with like a 50% Joel Embiid. Like usually we do. Maybe 60% Joel Embiid. And that's just not good enough to win. Because other players around him, other than Maxey, aren't stepping up. And I'm glad to see Maxey playing well. I mean, he's a real treasure to watch. And talk about guys that are going to get paid. I mean, but he's earned it, Maxey. You know, he's only going to get better with years. But my hope, the only thing I can say, regardless of how this series ends, whether we win or lose, and we get to however far the Sixers get this season, or not far, I for once, they got to make the right moves this offseason. They got to put this thing together. They got to find players, and it's hard, but you got to find players that are going to have that mentality, not just in the regular season, but in the postseason. And some people said, well, they shouldn't have traded away Morris. Yeah, maybe you needed a Morris kind of player, even though he was a veteran, but he had a lot of dog in him. He's a Philly guy. He's Philly tough. Okay, yeah, he is dog in him, right? You need that type of player against the Knicks. And maybe they have that player. Maybe that player hasn't played in the series so far. I don't know why they're not playing some of their young guys. You know, I want to see some of those guys out there, Martin Jr. and like, because obviously the same old ain't getting it done. Buddy Hield, if he's not making threes, he's useless. He doesn't do anything else. I'd rather those minutes go to some young player who's going to give you effort. And that's up to Nick Nurse to do. But I want to see effort out of this team because you know what? You're playing a team. They're going to give you effort every day, every night. You know, that's just how Coach Tibbs does it, right? The Knicks are a hard-nosed team. They got 3 Villanova guys on that team. And there's a reason they won 2 national championships. That was a damn good team. They were well coached by Jay Wright, and they played fundamentally strong because they learned it through him and through their youth as well. Right? Brunson's the son of an ex-NBAer, right? Really good player. And the Sixers, for the most part, have kept him down, but it's been the other guys that have stepped up. And that's what we need to see. And we haven't seen it through the first 2 games. It's part of the big reason why they're 0-2. I know that the last minute of the game yesterday, but it was all that led up to that last minute. And that's always the way it is with the Sixers. It's not just that last little bit of the game. Why did it have to get to that last little bit of the game when you seemingly had the game in hand and control? Because you didn't do the fundamental things that you needed to do to close out a playoff game, particularly on the road, in a hostile environment like the Garden. Again, can they still come back and win this series? Yeah. I mean, they have talent. Even though Embiid is dealing with injury, they still have the talent to do it, but they got to put it together. And are they able to do it? The series comes back to Philly now. We'll see. We'll see. I think Thursday night's gonna be the tell. If they lose that game, it's over. If they win the game, there's still a sliver of hope. But then you gotta tie it up on the weekend, and then you gotta find a way to win a game in the Garden. Look, the Knicks are good. The Knicks have handled the Sixers this season. Regular season, now they're 2-0 in the playoffs. A lucky 2-0 maybe, but still 2-0. They play well. It's a well-coached team. They play hard. And they're not going to win a championship this year, I don't think, because you go up against a Boston or a Milwaukee or something, or, you know, at least Boston. I think that might be too big a mountain to climb. But they're a scrappy team. They play hard and they play fundamentally sound. That's the thing that the Sixers got to figure out. You got to outwork that team. And again, I like some of the things I've seen. I like how they played Brunson. They've really kind of kept him off the score sheet for the most part. He hasn't been putting up the big numbers, but other guys have stepped up. Josh Hart stepped up, former Villanova guy. DiVincenzo made the big shot yesterday on a second opportunity at it. He missed the first. But look, I mean, other guys, right? The Deuce. I mean, they have found other guys to come in and do the job. So even without Julius Randle, it hasn't really affected them as much as the Sixers have been affected with the injury to Embiid. And he still put up numbers. Again, I'm not blaming him right now. He showed up for both games. Injured, he showed up. He doesn't have as much lift maybe with the knee, but he's put up numbers. But it's just a perpetual kick in the gut, kick in the groin. Every year there's a game like this. And it's just at some point, at some point, I have a replica ring from Super Bowl 52 that I purchased because I felt, look, this fan base has earned it. You know, we went through so much with that team. When they won, it was just such a great feeling, and I feel I had to have something like that. I have Phillies ones that were kind of give outs at games. I didn't purchase it myself, but you best believe, you know, if the Sixers can ever do it and put it together and win a championship, oh, I will buy that replica ring because I've earned the damn thing, okay? I think the Sixers should, look, they have money, all right? They should give fans, everyone who goes to the parade should get a ring that day because we have been through so much with this franchise. It is unbelievable the amount of stuff, and that's putting it mildly, that we have gone through with this franchise in just the past 10 years. Things that are just unfathomable to some fan bases. Someone told me they're looking forward to my end of life on this. And I normally, I know I mentioned about our teams and whatnot. It's part of the life. Look, this is part of me. This is in the life. This is my life. This is, you're going to hear Philly sports talk from time to time. Particularly after a game like that last night. And it's like I should be used to this by now. But you can't get used to this over and over and over again. It's like a horror movie. You know something's going to happen. There's going to be a jump scare, the killer, but you're always going to run upstairs for some reason. I still don't understand that, but yeah. It's like the Sixers just choose to run upstairs instead of out that front door with the wide, you can just go wherever. Now you're going to run upstairs. That's usually what they do. But I don't know, man. That it never gets easy watching this stuff. I have more gray because of. I always say half the gray I have is because of the Eagles, and the other half is the Sixers, and that's probably what it is. I love my Phillies and Flyers too, believe me, and we've been through some stuff with them too. It's been now 50 years with the Flyers next season since their last cup. They're right, 74, 75. I think I'm getting the years right, but yeah, I think it's been 50 or maybe from their first, whatever it is, but it's been 50 years. It's been too long, but they at least I can see okay. They seem to have an understanding of what they want to do. It's going to take a little time, but I'm willing to give them time. The Phillies, I can't be more happy. They put it together. They found the right elixir for this franchise to get this team together. And look, are they going to win the World Series this year or not? Time will tell. It was disappointing how that season ended last season with losing those 2 games at home to a team they should have beaten. But they're still a team that's going to be in the hunt, and that's all I can ask for with them, But the Eagles, look, they got us the greatest gift in Super Bowl 52, and yeah, they probably should have gotten us another one in 57, but it is what it is. But at least I can say that franchise, I've seen them win. I know what they're capable of doing. They just had to put the pieces together and do it again, right? But the Sixers, it just. I can't say they don't try, they do. But there's these mistakes that they make, and getting rid of the wrong players and keeping the wrong players and just Jimmy Butler. Raquel Bridges. Why? Those guys with the B. Like, my last name starts with a B. It's a strong name. Butler and Bridges. You want more B's. I'm grasping at straws. That's really all I have to grasp at now. But I still look back at those two moves, and it just haunts me. It really does. I've been through the Simmons stuff. Rez, I'm sorry. I know you know, and Stacks and I was right. I hate to keep saying, what's he been doing in Brooklyn these days? Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's collecting a paycheck. But I if they just would have, if it just had that Doc Brown time machine go back, I could have been like the crazy gray-haired guy. No, this is what you want to do. Oh my God. The old saying is you don't know what it is to win until you lose. And oh God, we found ways to lose. So if that day ever happens and we win, I'm not going to put it up there with the Eagles. I still can't do that because that was a mountain that I don't know if it can ever be reached again. But it will be so sweet to have it because all us Sixer fans, we have been raked over the coals over and over and over, the parade of perennial playoff pain. Constant pain. Pain. You think you've seen enough? Oh no. Anthony today on PHLY, and shout out to PHLY, check him out on YouTube and also in your podcasts. He said the Sixers are like the Saw movies. This is what they do to the fans. You think you've seen it? No. How much blood will you shed? It's probably in B because he gets hurt a lot. But I still don't want to trade him. I'm still in the vote. Do not trade him. It's a bad thing because the Sixers, you will never get fair trade value for him. It doesn't happen. Superstars don't get traded for fair trade value. And I know it sucks he gets hurt. I get it. But you need to get the right team around him. And hopefully they can do it. That's the only hope we have. Because if not, this is just going to be another player that went through his career and never won with the Sixers. It almost happened to Dr. J, too. That's the thing. If it wasn't for Moses. It's like, but we need a Moses now. Like, who's the Moses that we're going to get on this team? We need one. I think even Moses, late in his career, in his life, would have been able to get that rebound yesterday. The Sixers, that Harrison and Bede just kind of looked at each other, and Frankenstein went and got it. It's like, anyhow, outside of that, I've been doing okay. I've kept to the workouts pretty good. I'm feeling good, and like I said, man, it's a long road to go, but so far so good. I've got through 5. Day 5, keep telling Slim because Slim is doing his walks every day, and I'll get my workouts in once every other day or so. And it's like, so today was day 5, so I got through 5, and now we're going to 6 on Thursday. So that's going okay. And I have a movie recommendation. If you haven't already seen it, Thanksgiving. And my God, what a treat that was to watch. I knew from the first time I saw the trailer, I said, I have hope for this movie. It's been so long. And I'm not saying that all of the aspects of the movie was original, because obviously they took some stuff from Halloween and Scream here and there and some other movies. You're never going to find a completely original thing at this point, right? Everything's been done. But I enjoyed that movie so much. It was everything I was hoping it would be. It's a movie revolving around a slasher on a holiday. I mean, yes, my favorite's Halloween, but it's Thanksgiving. What I liked about the movie was they didn't go overboard with the character development of the different people in the movie. Like you knew what their purpose was, and then that was it. And then you have this killer dressed as a pilgrim going around finding very inventive ways of killing them. Um, I just loved how it flowed. It's an hour and 46 minutes, and it went by. It did not. It didn't drag. You didn't need to learn everything about everyone in the movie as some horror movies can do. It wasn't overly jump scary. It had some scenes, but not like some of these movies. Is like that's all they want to do: jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. Right? I don't like those. It never does anything for me. So, um, it just to me, and I compared it to when I first watched the movie, the original Scream. It was like that. It was just a fun horror movie to watch. And it didn't beat you over the head with different things that some of these movies could. It wasn't a rehash. It wasn't an updated version of an old movie, right? It wasn't. It didn't have like all this like paranormal stuff throughout the whole, or demonic possession, or zombies throughout the whole movie, right? It was just. It was a good old fashioned slasher horror movie, and I was so disappointed at the end of Halloween. That one really left a scar with me. But this, and again, I had hope for it. When I saw the first trailer of it last year, I'm like, ooh, this looks good. This looks like something that I've been waiting for. And it took me a while to see it. I didn't get to the theater as I thought I would to see it. It's on Netflix right now. That's where I saw it. And I was so happy. I had a big grin on my face afterward because I'm like, this is exactly what I was hoping for in this movie. They hit every note correctly. The cast was cool. It was well casted. They didn't overdo it with the character development. You saw the killer throughout a good portion of the movie. There was even a cool plot twist at the end. It did my heart good seeing that movie. I would recommend it 100 out of 100 times. If you're a horror fan, even if you're not, it's a fun movie. It kind of poked fun at a lot of the stuff that happens on Thanksgiving, right? The craziness of the holiday season beginning. I just enjoyed it. I really did. I think they're making a sequel. I hope that this isn't a franchise that just gets done to death. No pun intended. But I I hope they kind of learn from the mistakes that were made in the past with some of these other franchises. Like, there has to be a time where you say, okay, we got to put the axe down now. Or the knife down. Or no. Now's the time, right? So I'll probably see the sequel, even if they make a third. Okay, but I really was happy watching it. I thought it was a very well done horror movie that just hit all the notes correctly, and gave us a new killer, a new slasher to watch over the next few years, I guess. But it was cool. It was a fun movie. Like I said, I compare it as far as my viewing goes, like the first time when I saw Scream, those way back in the 90s. I know it was a while ago, but it was a fun movie to watch. It was a fun slasher horror movie to watch, and I kind of compared it to my viewing of Scream back in the day to viewing this. I was a lot younger when I first saw Halloween, and so I'm like, all right, what would this kind of compare to from more kind of sort of maybe recent time? All right, Scream. Anyhow, I would recommend that movie Thanksgiving. If you haven't already seen it, watch it. It's fun, and take MightyFan's word for it. All right, well, I've gone on about an hour and 10 minutes here. Mostly we talked about the disappointments with the Sixers. And there's too many. Every time you think, hey, they can't do another thing, can they? Yeah, here it comes. Here it comes. There it is. Yep, we were waiting on it. Talking about like horror movies. This is a real horror. This is a horror sports movie. That's what this is. There's enough villains to go around. There's enough jump scares and horrible moments and moments that just make you cringe. But I'm still here. I'm gonna be a fan. This is for life. They got me for life. As much as I have to deal with the disappointments, of which there's too many. Anyhow, oh, and the paying for is back on eBay. I Slim told me, so I didn't get the item. In fact, I was a little chagrined because the night before the paying for, I guess, became available again on eBay. I purchased an item because there was an old run white Mean Joe Green Steelers jersey, and I believe it's the only one that I need to complete the white Super Steelers 70s collection, the white versions of them, because I have Lambert and Webster and Harris and Bradshaw, and I think the only other one they did was green, unless there's like a swan floating around somewhere or ham. I don't think they did them in white. And there's players from those eras that they never made, and I don't believe they did a Rocky Blyer in white. I know they did a 76, the black one with the patch. And they made a Blackjack Ham and the Lambert, which those are the only three that I don't have for the Steelers of the 70s outside of that one I just got, the Mean Joe. Because I've had the black one for a while, so the white one, and I forgot they made it. It's like after I got the Mike Webster and the Harris, I'm like, ooh, I think I had the set of the white. And then someone posted the white Mean Joe, and it was like a 44. It was a size, it was a medium. I'm like, damn. I couldn't remember. I'm like, if they did another one, it was probably Mean Joe, but I couldn't remember if they did or not. And then he posted it for sale on one of the groups. I'm like, double damn. They did make it, and he's selling a 44. That's not going to help me. So then I was on eBay that night, and there it was in my size. I'm like, well, I really wasn't expecting to go after anything right now, but it was a best offer. I made a best offer. The seller took it, but there was no paying for option. I'm like, okay. And then the next day, it was like a Sixers moment. It's like, really? That? But I'm glad to see it back. Just gotta be careful. Gotta be careful. That's gonna do it. I know an hour 12 minutes as usual. It's a marathon for me here on YouTube. But I thank you all for joining in. If you join in with me the whole hour and 13 minutes now going on, I thank you so much. Thank you for all the support to the channel. You never know what you're gonna see on this channel, right? It could be jerseys, hats, me ranting about the local teams. You never know. So you never want to miss an episode. So what do you got to do, right? You got to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. And make sure to hit the bell icon to be alerted to all future content from yours truly. And make sure to leave likes. God knows I need them. I'm a Sixers fan. I need as many likes as I can possibly, even if you're a Knicks fan. It's okay. King Leo, we had a little conversation today on Instagram. Just leave those likes, and it's always much appreciated. All right, everyone, I'm going to go for now. I'm going to go grab a shower, get some dinner, and hopefully see another Phillies win tonight. 7 in a row. They're going for 8 in a row tonight, but we'll see. It's good to see them playing well. It's just the Sixers. I don't know what to see. Thursday, you got the draft coming up, the NFL draft, and the Sixers game. What should I focus on more? But the Phillies play an afternoon game, so they don't play. But it's going to be a night where my thumb's going to get the workout, going back and forth, and I might get angry at the Sixers, so I might have to watch more of the draft. We'll see. We'll see what happens. The Eagles don't pick till late unless Howie moves up. He usually does, so we'll see. Go Birds in the draft, and come on, Sixers. Come on. All right, everyone. I'll see you all on the next one. Take care.